Deb McGinnis, and this is my coworkers, and we're going to sing a few Christmas carols for you. Okay. No Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. But do you recall the most famous reindeer of all? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Then how the reindeer loved him as they shouted out with glee, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history. Okay, Jingle Bells. Dashing through the snow on a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lame, misfortune seemed to lie. He got into a drifted bank and couldn't get out of sight. Jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Are we moving on? All right, and the last one would be Frosty. Ready? Okay. Frosty the snowman was a jolly, happy soul, with a corncob pipe and a button nose and 2 eyes made out of coal. Frosty the snowman is a fairy tale, they say. He was made of snow, but the children know how he came to life one day. There must have been some magic in that old silk hat they found, for when they placed it on his head, he began to dance around. Frosty the snowman was alive as he could be, and the children say he could laugh and play just the same as you and me. Frosty the snowman, the sun was hot that day, so he said, let's run and we'll have some fun now before I melt away. Down to the village with the broomstick in his hand, running here and there all around the square, saying, catch me if you can. He led them down the streets of town, right to a traffic cop, and he only paused a moment when he heard him holler, stop. Frosty the snowman had to hurry on his way, but he waved goodbye, saying, don't you cry, I'll be back again someday. Thumpity-thump, thump, thumpity-thump, thump, look at Frosty go. Thumpity-thump, thump, thumpity-thump, thump, over the hills of snow. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Hi, I would like to give you a little bit of history about Christmas carols. Marie Augustine Trapp has documented history of carols in a clear and concise way. According to her, singing and caroling at Christmas is one of the oldest folk customs of the day and has been present since the time when Christianity and Christian seasons were still at their budding stages. It is a worldwide custom, and there has been a lot of research on the subject, and several books have been written about it. Originally, music, compositions, and songs at Christmas were in the forms of chants and hymns. Caroling originally meant circle dance, and the words to accompany this festive dance were later added to the tradition. Now, initially, the church looked down upon Christmas carols as a pagan custom, and they could not be included in the sacred services. However, in the countryside, many simple folk and nativity carolers were written and gained popularity too. 1223, St. Francis of Assisi introduced carols into the format of worship at the church during a Christmas midnight mass, and that night the songs and the music accompanying the sacred and formal event were not hymns but carols. Ever since then, carols caught on with the masses and were at their prime in the Middle Ages, when they were almost always a part of the mysterious plays. There was also a time when wandering minstrels and waits or watchmen that guarded the old walled cities in the night used to pass their time by singing carols, and also sang them to the people who used to pass them by. They would go from home to home singing carols and entertaining people, and maybe get a treat in return. Later groups of musicians began singing carols and playing them for various events that were held during the Christmas season. Today, carol singing has become an important part of the holiday season, and a number of caroling events are organized throughout the world during the festive season, especially on Christmas Eve. Now, the history of Jingle Bells. First written in 1857 by James Lord Pierpont, this popular song is different in that it does not mention Christmas, Jesus, Santa Claus, or any other iconic figures associated with the holiday. It is simply about winter fun. The lyrics and tunes have changed slightly from the original version. Most people are often familiar with the first verse, but the other lost version dealt with a young man riding his sleigh around trying to impress the girls. I have a trivia question for you. What is the most hated Christmas song? According to the Washington Post, in 1955, Danish recording of dogs barking Jingle Bells was the most hated song. The story of Frosty the Snowman is a holiday staple, but where did the story come from? Although Christmas isn't specifically mentioned in the lyrics of the song, Frosty was meant to be a part of the Christmas from the very beginning. Frosty was first introduced to the world in 1950 with the songwriting team of Walter Jack Rowland and Steve Nelson decided to come up with a song that would be a good follow-up to Gene Autry's 1949 Christmas hit, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The pair decided on a song about a magical snowman who comes to life when children place a magical hat upon his head. The song was recorded by Gene Autry that same year and became another holiday hit for the singing cowboy. The song has been recorded since then many times by many artists and has been a staple of Christmas radio since that year it was released. The character of Frosty the Snowman won the hearts of the American public, and before long a children's picture book based on the song was published. Frosty the Snowman, A Little Golden Book, was published in 1951 and became the first of many Frosty picture books. That same year, the first in a series of Frosty the Snowman comic books was published as well. Frosty the Snowman was first seen in full animated glory in 1954, when a cartoon short of the song was produced and aired on the television station WGN-TV. The short film was shown along with other animated holiday shorts throughout the Christmas season. The short remains as a staple for every year during the Christmas season. Now, in 1969, Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass produced a half-hour animated television special featuring Frosty that would quickly become a holiday classic. Screenwriter Romeo Miller expanded upon the song lyrics, adding more characters and a new storyline, including an appearance of Santa Claus. Rankin and Bass were famous for their stop-action animation. But Frosty the Snowman was their first project that used traditional cel animation. This was chosen to give the production the look of Christmas cards. Like other children's specials, which Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Santa Claus Coming to Town, Frosty the Snowman became an instant holiday classic that is still aired on television each year in December. Rankin and Bass later produced two sequels to the original TV special in 1976 and 1979. Frosty came to life in the 1990s with the TV special Frosty Returns and the video The Legend of Frosty the Snowman. Frosty has become such an integral part of Christmas lore that it's hard to believe he's only been around for a little more than half a century. Frosty has become a symbol of the magic of Christmas and the joy of youth, making his appeal timeless. For several years, the Chicago-based Montgomery Ward department stores had purchased and given away coloring books as promotional gimmicks during Christmas season. Then in 1939, a company executives decided that they wanted something that would both reduce costs and at the same time be a new and different. To help them with this, they turned to Robert L. May, a 34-year-old Montgomery Ward copywriter who was known to dabble in children's limericks and stories. May was up to the challenge, based upon the ugly duckling in his own childhood when he was often taunted by his peers because of his small size. The advertising created the now famous story of a young reindeer who becomes a hero because of his physical aberration, a large shiny nose. Searching for a name for his creation, May rejected Rollo because it was too humorous, and Reginald because it was too British, before settling on a name with the help of his 4-year-old daughter on Rudolph. Now May's creation was a short story written in rhyming verse and different from verses today. The original Rudolph lived in the woods with his loving parents far from the North Pole. Although he was lonely because he was not welcomed by other little reindeers, he was optimistic and who wanted to help others. On Christmas Eve, Santa arrives at Rudolph's house just as a heavy fog is moving in. Concerned with the rest of the flight and noticing the little reindeer's luminous nose, he asks Rudolph for his help in leaving his sleigh. Following a successful flight, the story ends with a grateful Santa saying to Rudolph, "By you, last night's journey was actually lost. Without you, I'm certain we've all been lost." Now May's story became somewhat of an immediate success. Montgomery Ward gave away 2.4 million copies of the story in 1939, and by 1946, despite wartime paper shortages, over 6 million copies had been distributed. Then a series of fortunate events occurred that would make Rudolph a part of Christmas lore. In 1947, May was faced with large medical bills because of his wife's long battle with terminal cancer. He asked Montgomery Ward officials if he could have the copyright to Rudolph turned over to him. The company quickly agreed to do so, and that same year, the story was published commercially, with the creator receiving all the royalties. Later that same year, produced Max Fletcher, primarily known for his Popeye Instagram cartoons, released a 7-minute animated version of the story. May also asked his brother-in-law, songwriter Johnny Marks, to adapt his basic story idea to music. When Marks was done, one singer after another, including Bing Crosby, declined to record the song. Finally, in 1949, Gene Autry, the best-known singer for his singing cowboy in Western movies, accepted the role, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer topped the charts that year. Autry's version is now the second best-selling Christmas song of all time, surpassed only by Bing Crosby's White Christmas. In 1964, a 47-minute animated adaptation of Rudolph, narrated by folk singer actor Burl Ives, first appeared on television and has appeared as an annual holiday special ever since. In 1998, a full-length animated movie was released to mixed reviews. In many countries and regions such as Britain, France, Germany, and Scandinavia, whose own lore helped to create the Santa Claus legend, Rudolph has become a part of the holiday festivities. Robert L. May died in 1976. He lived long enough to know that his creation has indeed gone down in history. I hope that gives you a little insight on the history of Christmas music. Everybody, happy holidays, Merry Christmas,